There comes a moment in becoming when you realize something quietly but clearly. Not everyone deserves access to you. Not your story, not your inner world, not your explanations. In this episode, we're talking about sovereignty, what it means to govern your inner kingdom with discernment, wisdom, and self-respect. We'll explore why emotional boundaries are not walls in the way most people describe them, why you don't owe access to anyone who hasn't earned trust, and how elegant women learn to protect what's sacred without guilt or apology. This is episode 3 of Becoming Conversations in Elegance and Empowerment. You don't owe access. Sovereignty, boundaries, and the inner kingdom. If as you're listening, this conversation touches something personal, if you're navigating relationships where access feels demanded rather than earned, you're invited to apply for private coaching at becomingpublishing.com. Structured, focused support can change everything.
Becoming the magnificent me, empowered, strong, and gracefully, with poise and elegance, I can see I am who I was born to be.
Welcome to Becoming Conversations in Elegance and Empowerment, a sanctuary for women who desire to live with purpose, grace, and quiet confidence. I'm Senée Seale Luchsinger, your host, author, and transformation guide. Gentlemen are welcome to listen in, but this space is intentionally crafted for the elegant woman becoming all she's meant to be. If this conversation resonates and you'd like focused private support, I invite you to explore private coaching. You can find more information anytime at becomingpublishing.com. Now, let's step into today's topic. Sovereignty is not dominance. It isn't control over others. It's authority over yourself. Merriam-Webster defines sovereignty in this context as, quote, complete independence and self-government, end quote. To be sovereign means you are the person who governs your inner world, your emotions, your values, your boundaries, your access points. In the language I use in my new book, Becoming Lavishly Loving, your inner world is a kingdom, and every kingdom has regions, gates, inner chambers, and thresholds. Not everyone who stands outside the gates is meant to enter, and certainly not everyone who enters deserves unrestrained access. Yes, many women were raised to believe that love requires openness without discernment, that withholding access is unkind, unloving, or selfish. However, sovereignty teaches us something different. Healthy love requires structure. If you've read any of my books in the Princess Guide collection, then you know I've been talking in royal metaphors for nearly a decade now. What I have only shared with clients, and they've all told me was enlightening, is the idea of the layers of the kingdom that I share in Becoming Lavishly Loving. Every healthy kingdom has public spaces outside the castle walls. This is where anyone is allowed. Castle grounds. This area is reserved for those who have been properly vetted and observed. Inside the castle, this is where only those very few people who have proven they are safe and trustworthy may enter. The throne of your being is located here too. Like I have said for nearly a decade, it's imperative to keep your crown on and stay on your throne. By that, I mean that you resist allowing someone outside of you to control your thoughts and emotions. And it's crucial to remember that every kingdom has guards at the gates. Growing up, these guards are usually fathers and big brothers who physically limit access to you and protect you from physical and emotional harm. I have been without that gatekeeper for more than 2 decades. I've watched many of my friends lose theirs in the years since. I have told them that we no longer have fathers to protect us, so we have to do it ourselves by establishing and enforcing healthy boundaries. Unfortunately, I've had to tell some of my clients who are in their 20s this same thing. But when we take responsibility for ourselves by establishing healthy boundaries, we are empowered, not weakened. Quote, boundaries are spiritual and emotional property lines. They tell us where we end and where others begin. They help to keep good things in us and bad things out. We take responsibility for what is ours and not for what isn't. When we are clearly defined, we can carry our own loads, and we know when it's appropriate to help others with their burdens. Drs. Henry Cloud and John Townsend wrote in their book, Safe People. They identify ways in which our boundaries can be injured, which include aggressive control, someone hurting us if we say no. Passive control, someone leaving us if we say no. Regressive control, guilt messages if we say no. And limitlessness, someone never saying no to us. Quotes, if your boundaries have been injured, you may find that when you are in conflict with someone, you shut down without even being aware of it. This isolates us from love and keeps us from taking in safe people, the doctors wrote. Boundaries are walls, but not like many people think of them as a negative isolation tool. No, they are structures with gates that serve as filters. They help you decide who gets access, how much access they have earned, and under what conditions. They can easily be sent back outside the castle walls with the peasants and tourists trying to catch a peek of what you're doing through the gates. When boundaries are absent, sovereignty collapses. When sovereignty collapses, women begin explaining themselves to people who haven't earned the right to ask. That isn't love. That's self-abandonment. It's important we take time here to clearly identify the traits of safe and unsafe people so that we can easily identify them when they approach our castle gates, wander the castle grounds, or approach the castle doors. The Drs. Cloud and Townsend wrote extensively about safe people in their book by the same name. They define safe people as individuals who promote healthy connection, acceptance, growth, and relational truth. On the flip side, they describe unsafe people as those whose behavior undermines emotional safety and mutual respect. The doctors describe characteristics of safe people as people who allow you to be yourself, show grace, which is also called acceptance, without condemnation, and are truthful in a way that builds trust. They balance relational presence with honesty. Safe people are individuals who respect boundaries, honor truth, and respond to limits with maturity rather than punishment. They do not demand access, do not punish boundaries, do not require explanation to feel secure. Conversely, unsafe people often display such traits as defensiveness, self-righteousness, and inconsistency. Drs. Cloud and Townsend point out in the book that all of these traits are relationally unreliable and should be red flags to watch out for. Unsafe people often reveal themselves, not by what they ask for, but by how they react when access is limited. If someone becomes angry, manipulative, dismissive, or shaming when you protect your inner world, they are telling you something important. Sovereignty listens. You don't owe access to people who have not demonstrated safety. Many years ago, when I was in the dating scene, I encountered men with these characteristics. I didn't love myself and refused to listen when my intuition was screaming at me that someone was not a good person. I criticized myself for being judgmental. My inner knowing from my kingdom within was correct. Not listening could have cost me my life, and it did result in injury. An elegant woman who lavishly loves herself, has boundaries, does not allow access to just anyone, and walks away when she sees red flags and signs of unsafe people. This is easier to do when dating or in friendships. It becomes an entirely different thing when it happens in family systems, but boundaries still must be established and enforced even in these relationships. Quote, healthy boundaries are the frame that keeps our lives from becoming an endless tug of war between family expectations and our own needs. When boundaries are ignored or violated, relationships become conflict-ridden, unstable, and damaging to our sense of self, wrote Sheldon Reed in Setting Healthy Boundaries in Relationships, published on helpguide.org. These dynamics typically trigger the over-explaining trap. Many women explain themselves, not because they're unclear, but because they're trying to manage someone else's discomforts. Over-explaining is often a sign that sovereignty is being negotiated instead of exercised. Elegant boundaries don't argue. They don't persuade. They don't over-justify. They simply stand. A sovereign woman understands that explanations are invitations, and not everyone deserves an invitation. Sometimes the most self-respecting boundary is silence. Please stay with me and I'll explain clearly what I mean by this. If this conversation is resonating and you recognize yourself in what we're discussing, I invite you to apply for private coaching. I work privately with a small number of women each season who are ready to rebuild confidence, strengthen emotional boundaries, and make clear decisions in life and love. This is structured, focused work, not surface motivation. If you're navigating heartbreak or life transitions and you want grounded private support, you can apply at becomingpublishing.com. I personally review every application. When I was growing up, my grandmother would often make us kids play the quiet game when she was frustrated or tired of hearing us all talking or screaming at once. This was especially true when we were in the car. I was the quiet game champion. I could stay quiet for hours. I liked my own company and the conversations I had in my head. I still do and practice being quiet a lot. Psychology literature supports the idea that silence, understood as strategic non-disclosure or pause, can be psychologically healthy and boundary protective, especially compared with problematic alternatives like emotional suppression or punitive silence, also known as the silent treatment. Psychological research characterizes silence not as mere absence of sound, but as a functional state that supports contemplation, internal processing, and emotional regulation, all of which are essential to maintaining emotional boundaries and making wise relational decisions. There is a difference between privacy and secrecy, discernment and deception. A 2025 study on boundary setting in relationships published in a Japanese conference paper found that many people intentionally choose silence over direct confrontation as a way of managing privacy boundaries without conflict. Quote, boundaries act as an emotional safety mechanism. Clients who cultivate clear limits are more effective at managing anxiety, interpersonal stress, and emotional exhaustion, wrote Dr. Robert Tabby in a 2018 edition of APA Monitor on Psychology. Sovereignty does not mean hiding. It means choosing. Choosing who has access to your inner world is not dishonesty. It is stewardship. Your emotional life deserves protection. Your becoming deserves containment. Not everything meaningful is meant to be public. Silence is also a choice. It's choosing yourself by keeping quiet. According to communication privacy management theory, people consciously regulate what they disclose or withhold as a way of maintaining privacy and psychological equilibrium, and this includes using silence to protect personal boundaries. Next, we'll put a crown on it to tie everything together, and I'll give you some practical ways to apply this information to your daily life. Many of the ideas we're exploring this season are expanded on in my newest book, Becoming Lavishly Loving, available on Spotify, my website, and most online booksellers. It explores intuition, emotional boundaries, and protecting your inner world with elegance. For women who are ready to apply this work in real time, not just understand it intellectually, I offer a private 3-month coaching container where we rebuild confidence and clarity from the inside out. You can learn more and apply at becomingpublishing.com. Sovereign women are often misunderstood. They are not loud. They are not defensive. They are not reactive. They are calm. They are clear. They are selective. They understand that love does not require self-betrayal. As I was telling a client recently, it's imperative that you don't do anything to betray yourself. Don't allow yourself to be controlled. Don't allow your standards, values, and boundaries to be trampled over. Don't do anything that you will later regret. And don't give up anything of value to you. Sovereign women no longer explain themselves to people who are committed to misunderstanding them. In your kingdom, you are the ruler. You govern your internal world by making all the rules and decisions. This is the only place where you can fully do this. You set the limits. You decide what behavior is acceptable. You decide who is worthy to walk through the gates and enter the sacred castle. To help you put this information into practice, here are a few questions you can ask yourself. Who currently has access to my inner world? What part of my kingdom are they located in? Outside the castle walls, where strangers, acquaintances, and casual and online connections belong? On the castle grounds, inside the walls, where only people who have been properly vetted and their behavior has been observed belong? Inside the castle, where only a few valuable people who have proven over time that they consistently have my best interest at heart and will be there to support and encourage me. Looking at the safe people list, have they demonstrated emotional safety over time? Do I feel clearer or more confused after interacting with them? Do I feel physically shaken in their presence? Do I feel emotionally or energetically icky around them? Do any of them need to be moved to outer areas? Do I explain myself more than I feel at peace? Are my silent moments sources of strength and peace, or am I bottling up words I truly want to say but am afraid of the repercussions if I do? Sovereignty is not about cutting people off impulsively. It's about adjusting access intentionally. You are allowed to change the rules of entry. Sovereignty is not isolation. It's alignment. Quote, a boundary is a reflection of identity. If you cannot state what you want and need, and you cannot state what is okay and not okay with you, you have no boundaries, wrote the doctors Cloud and Townsend in their book, Safe People. When you govern your inner kingdom with wisdom and care, the right people recognize it, and the wrong people reveal themselves. That clarity is not loss, it's freedom. Thank you so much for spending time with me on Becoming Conversations in Elegance and Empowerment. If something in today's conversation spoke to you and deeper focused support feels right, I invite you to explore private coaching at becomingpublishing.com. Until next time, stay elegant, stay empowered.
Becoming the magnet.